Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Here we are once again. I will immediately put the gentleman away. Uh, uh, hello. Yeah, um, hi. Welcome in. So I tried tweeting out like a heads up today on suggestion that maybe giving a little bit more forewarning would get people a chance to trickle in or at least show up. So that's a test. If any of you are here because of that, let me know and I'll see. I'll gauge how it worked. Um, you may remember on Saturday, if you were here, when I was making ice cream cake, the photos of which I have acquired but have not yet. Well, great. I'm glad that worked. I'll probably try to do that more often, like do a pre live tweet just to heads up people. Um, what was I saying? Ice cream cake. So I was making the ice cream cake, which I have photos of. The photos need to be transferred over to my tablet where I do my photo editing, which I know is not the place to do photo editing, but it's my terrible system. Um, so that's why those haven't been posted yet. But if you'll remember, at the end, because we had to wait on the freezing, which, by the way, took another 4 hours, so there was no way we were going to wait for that. I pulled out a little bag of frozen gnocchi and whipped up a quick midnight sauce and made that the kicker at the end. Well, that was my last little bag of frozen gnocchi. So I'm going to make more gnocchi. We're revisiting gnocchi. Last time I made them, I tried a really ambitious tricolor thing, and we ended up with one color, and it was the orange one. So today, instead of trying an ambitious thing like that, I'm going to make a pretty straightforward gnocchi. We're going to follow basic procedures, and the fun part is going to be the sauce. You may remember this once again for the viewers. This thing, I've saved this. This is the braising liquid from the half chicken with the braising vegetables that I attempted to blend into a sauce. So this has been blended. It's mostly water, chicken drippings, and a whole bunch of guajillo chilies and some onions that got boiled for an hour and a half and then blended. Uh, when I blended it, it ended up being the wrong flavor for what I was doing, so I just stuck it back in the jar. And you'll notice, that it started separating. All this floaty stuff, it's floating on a layer of liquid. So I think I can reduce this. I think the problem with this right now is that it's too much water still in there. I think if I reduce this, I can turn it into a nice, thick, unctuous sauce, because it's already got chicken drippings in there. Which is what I've got these herbs out for, because it needed a little something. It was very one note, which is fine for a braising liquid, but as a sauce, it's going to need something. But I pre-cut some herbs today, so I won't have to run outside mid-show to grab herbs. So I'm actually going to start with putting this thing on the stove and getting it to start simmering. Then we'll switch over to the gnocchi. We can make some gnocchi. They have a couple of steps to do. And yeah, should be pretty straightforward, should be tasty. We'll see what happens. So step one, I'm starting us all the way over here. Oop, let me get rid of my signage. Step one, I'm starting us all the way over on this side. We're going to get out a jar or a pot, empty our jar into it, and I did check this hasn't gone off, which is the first thing, because it's been in there for a little bit. but I didn't pour it out, so we'll see what this stuff actually does when I take it out of the jar. I don't know how much it's going to have gelled. Pretty runny, and the liquid at the bottom is very much liquid. And this is what it did before. It smells very. It doesn't smell hot. It doesn't smell spicy peppers. Those guajillo chilies aren't very spicy. Hi, welcome in. The guajillo chilies ended up not being very spicy, but it has a strong smell of peppers. But when I taste it, it has a lot of chicken flavor that just doesn't come out in the smell for some reason. But it's much too runny to be used for anything right now, unless I wanted to turn it into a soup. Which, who knows? We'll see what happens. But it needs to start. It's going to need to start reducing. So we got to get that on post haste, because slowly reducing a liquid takes a while. That can be our stir. Actually, I'm going to taste it now. It's still cold, so it's not going to taste great. Okay, it's not spicy at all. It has zero spicy. It's got a pretty strong chicken flavor to it. It also has a. I can taste the pepper, and it has to be the guajillo chilies because it's this vaguely fruity flavor. It's not quite like a bell pepper. It's more smoky of a flavor. It tastes like chipotle pepper if you took all the heat out of it. That's what it tastes like. Not really strongly, but that's the flavor that it's giving me. So like a smoked red pepper flavor. It's pretty nice actually. Since I want to make a sauce, it's kind of one note. So I'm going to chuck in the top of a basil. Get him in there. I've got more basil in case I need it later. And this is our Cuban oregano. That is a very nice. Throw the big one in there. Is a very nice herb. I've been quite enjoying it. I don't use a lot of it, which is it grows quite well. We'll see how it fares in the winter, but so far for the summer, it grows quite well, and you don't use a lot of it, so it's just been getting bigger, which was the goal, but eventually I'll have to repot it. This is the method I've seen in Italian sauces where they'll stick a big like bunch of whole fresh herb in there, and then they'll fish the thing out, and so they don't have to have bits in the sauce. I think the idea is that it extracts the flavor oils, and then you can fish it out. Since I'm doing this for a pretty long simmer, they're gonna really wilt down a lot. But I don't know. It's just a decision. Not chopping it means I can fish the leaves out later on, which I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but it's the idea that I guess I've already pre-committed to. Anyways, that has to pretty big volume of liquid there that has to come up to a bubble so it can start reducing. So while that's working, we will get out some potatoes and start potatoing. I've got some big potatoes today compared to in the past. So, like, I would probably use 4 of these, but I think I'm just going to use those 2 real big guys. There's my peeler. I always lose the peel. There it is. My scraps bowl handy. You definitely want to take the skin off for making gnocchi because it's a pasta. It's got to be blended smooth, and bits of skin will prevent that. And I still don't have a ricer, so we're once again going to be turning this into a fine mash by hand. I'm not too busted up about these little scraps of the eye where the eyes are, but I am going to take them out. I guess I'm saying I'm not busted up about them, but I'm taking the time to remove them for maximum potatoey smoothness. Should go in there with a knife so that I avoid losing bits of potato while I'm removing the eyes. You usually don't get to see the scrap bowl. It's hidden over here off the edge. It's where all my bits and pieces end up, so that I don't have to keep opening and closing the trash bucket. We'll give these a rinse as well. There's obviously a little bit of dirt coming off of the skin onto the fleshy part, but since I'm peeling the skins off, there was no point in pre-washing them. Okay, that guy aside. Brush the dusty earth into the trash. And we pop over and give these guys a quick rinse off. Let's see, I need a place to put them. Eh. So I've not yet dived into the world of non-potato pastas. And I'm not sure why. We're just kind of... I like gnocchi. I'm going to try making these have like a nice little shape to them, though. My last ones were literally just cut little nubs. Let's see. I do have a reference recipe pulled up. I'm not totally winging it. I'm sorry. I was checking quantities. I probably should get the potatoes going before I check quantities. Okay. Size of the chop at this point doesn't really matter. The smaller you chop them, the faster they'll cook. These are quite large potatoes as well. So about that big. The goal here really is to just get them all chopped to approximately equal thickness. So these are all going to be about, I'm eyeballing it, but they're, even though I've got this board with measuring lines on it, I'm just eyeballing it. None of these should have any direction that is more than a centimeter across. So that in theory, even though they're a little bit rough and irregular, they should all cook pretty much the same rate. And this is going to be a pretty forgiving application for potatoes in general, because we're going to mash them and then combine them with flour and then mash them again and then boil them again. So having parts of them be slightly overcooked is going to be completely permissible here. Potato. Okay, now, cooking potato. I have heard an adage that when boiling, if the thing you're boiling grows below ground, you start it in cold water and bring it up to a boil. And if it grows above ground, you throw it into boiling water. And I have stuck to that. Despite having never checked up on the veracity of it. It's just like old wives' tale of chefs, of chefery. One of those things that people just don't double check. I mean, I'm sure someone's tested and double checked it. I've never bothered to check up on it. Maybe we should do that as an experiment sometime. But pot of cold water, potatoes in there, apply heat, apply salt. Our sauce, should move us over to the stove. Potatoes in there. Our sauce is coming to a wonderful bubble. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the thing that I should have been doing all along. I tell myself I should do, and I just never do it. And it's that. Get a little plate to put that on so that I don't get schmutz all over everywhere. Just smart. It's just a smart thing that I tell myself I should do all the time, and I just don't do it, and I don't know why. So yeah. The other ingredients of gnocchi, the basic version, are egg. We've still got eggs. Price of eggs has made eggs a little bit more of a precious commodity. and flour, and that's actually it. Um, the combination of the starches and the proteins from the egg is what makes those nice little squidgy pillows of pasta goodness. Sorry, I'm digging my flour out from the back corner because I still have not figured out a better way of keeping my flour uh, other than stuffed in the back corner behind my spice rack, where it's the least accessible whenever I need flour. But yeah, a nice schmutz plate. Now, I've also heard that you're supposed to put some vinegar in the water with potatoes for some reason. I've never done that. I don't know much about it. Let's learn about it right now. Vinegar in potato water. The vinegar causes the potatoes to form a thin crust, which helps them hold their shape. We don't want that. At least that's what Google said. First top thing. And since I'm mashing these, I absolutely do not want that. So there you go. No vinegar. If you want your boiled potato cubes to hold their shape better, I guess that's what the vinegar's for. There you go. I learned something. I hope you did. This is still quite a runny sauce. I should probably be tasting this as it develops so that I have chances to add things to it. Oh, wow. Oh, it tastes very different all of a sudden. Um, this tastes like a bolognese. Now it tastes like a bolognese. Interesting. Very interesting. Um, how did I achieve a flavor of a bolognese? Obviously, the chicken drippings are giving me a meaty flavor, but there's no tomato in it at all. Huh. But it tastes like if you for some reason strained a bolognese and just used the saucy part, not the meat. That's the flavor I'm getting from this, which is very strange. Huh. That's going to be a good sauce. That's going to be a tasty sauce once it's done. I think it needs some things. Uh Garlic powder. It still has no spice to it at all. So a generous dose of black pepper. And I want to, actually, since we're doing a slow boily thing anyways, this is a perfect opportunity to throw in one of these larger hot peppers and not slice them up. So some of my dried peppers, these are quite a bit larger. Uh, although, if I remember when I got these, they were very inconsistent in whether or not they were spicy. So I should taste one. Just that's not spicy at all. Neither is that one. Okay, well, guess I'm putting them back. They're the weirdest peppers I've ever gotten from the farmer's market. The farmer could not tell me what they were. Had no idea. Planted some peppers, no clue. They grew, harvested them, sold them. The first one I tried had no spice whatsoever. It was the blandest thing because it didn't really have any flavor either. It was just kind of a bland pepper. The second one was very spicy. The seeds are the spiciest part, but they're not the only part that is spicy. The flesh of a spicy pepper will also have some spice to it, not just the seeds. So, in lieu of that, I'm taking 3 of these, which I know are spicy, and I'm just tucking them in there like that. I don't want to make this crazy spicy. So I've just snapped the stems off, haven't cut them at all. They'll go in there and they'll turn that down a little bit. We don't need that to boil. We just need it to simmer. And they'll be easy to fish out, and they will impart some of their piquant delight into our sauce. Oop, such a bad habit of putting that there. Forgot I had a schmutz plate. In fact, here, let's burn the schmutz right off of that back burner. You can watch it happen. I'm very impressed with how this is going. How this liquid. Oh, there comes our. There goes my burning schmutz. I shouldn't do this while I'm live. This is a bad thing. Don't do this, by the way. You shouldn't use the burner to burn stuff off of itself. You should clean the burner while it's cold. But this is why I shouldn't be putting schmutz on the burner in the first place, because look how much stuff is burning off of it. This one is over boiling a little bit. So yeah, a little bit of a downtime. Whoa, that smoked up the kitchen real quick. Wow, that was a bad idea. For those of you following along at home, skip the step where you turn on the empty burner just to burn off the schmutz. It's not an advisable step. I think we're going to be okay on the smoke alarm because I've got the AC running in the next room, and it's not a ton of smoke. So I think the AC running in the next room will. Oh no! Oh, I'm sorry, Real Steel, but I did warn you after the fact not to do the thing. So my retroactive warning is legally binding, and it's your own fault. Yeah, you guys, actually, you can see it. Right there. Oop, right there. There was a smoke detector right here in the kitchen, and it went off every time I cooked anything at all. Like, not just if I burned something, like, it went off if I cooked anything. So now I've got one over there, far enough away that it only goes off if we really smoke the place up. So, Yes. Who puts a smoke detector right in the middle of the kitchen ceiling? It's just bizarre. So we've got one over by the bedroom, and we've got one up in the front. So I've actually got two on this level. But yeah, I don't know. This was a strange thing. The mounting is still there, but I'm never going to put a detector back in that spot. Um, we're killing a little bit of time. The sauce is definitely thickening. I've got the heat turned down even more because we're trying to just simmer it at this point, because I should check it with an actual spoon. The goal of a sauce like this is to get it to coat the back of a spoon. We're not quite there yet. Oh, but the flavor is great. The chickeniness has actually come out a little bit more since I last tasted it. Interesting. It's wow, that's a good sauce. Oop. Our potatoes are starting to froth up quite a bit. I'm going to pull one of the cubes out and just give it a poke test. Over here. Okay, one potato cube, hot. One pointy knife, pokes in, comes out. Cuts in half, looks at the middle. It's probably just about there, honestly. If I'm honest, which I rarely am. A little bit under. I think it'll be hard to mash at this stage. So, but since that was one of the larger cubes, we are nearly there. Put the rest of those back in. Okay. A couple more minutes on the potatoes. Temperature on the sauce low enough that it will just sort of slowly broil away. I'm very impressed, considering that this was literally just the braising liquid off the bottom of a, a chicken I was braising in the oven that I saved on a whim. It's that's pretty damn good. It still doesn't have any real spice to it. Even the peppers aren't really doing much. Yeah, a little bit. Okay, just a hint. That's what I'm going for. I don't want them to be a really spicy sauce. I just want a nice little piquant hint in there. I guess I'm waiting. I guess I'm on a slight waiting time. Uh, let me switch to a camera angle so you can see my face and then immediately walk away. Let me pour myself a drink and we can discuss your future. Ooh, actually, pouring myself a glass of wine has made me think about maybe adding a splash of wine to our sauce. What do you think? That would bring it even closer to a bolognese than we already had in terms of flavor. And we've got plenty of time to boil the alcohol away. Oop, splashing. And I've only got about that much of a bottle left to kill it here anyways, so Yeah, probably about a third of a cup. Mix that in. It should give us a little bit more of the Italian style flavor. Some bitterness, some tannins, other flavors that are in wine. I don't I don't know much about wine. Um, gotta admit, I don't really actually know much about the flavors of wine. They taste like wine. They taste different, but I couldn't explain what the flavors are. Okay, well, that was a fortuitous happenstance. I think I'm going to want to put because the flavor here is good. It's just a matter of actually, I should say I just added something, so let's taste it. Mmm, mmm. You know what it needs? You know what that needs is some salt. I don't think the original braising liquid was hardly salted at all, because the chicken I used was pre-flavored, and I assumed that it had a bunch of salt in it, so I was like, I don't need any more salt. Okay, let's stab a potato. I can't get a grip on a potato. Let's stab a potato. They seem pretty soft to me. They've been going for plenty of time to have softened up as well. I actually did not time when I put them in. I was just going to eyeball them. They feel pretty well boiled to me. Let's get out a big old bowl. How big of an old bowl? The bigger one. The bigger one. See if I can panic my camera with this reflective concave surface like I've done before. Let's get these taters out of there. So the smaller chunks are definitely cooked. The bigger ones are hopefully all fully cooked. The one I tested was, and it was one of the larger ones, I think. The recipe makes quite a lot of gnocchi, which is fine because in my personal experience, having made it once before, gnocchi freezes extremely well. So making a big batch of it and then freezing it is a good idea as far as I'm concerned. Uh, it it honestly takes almost exactly the same amount of cooking time from frozen as it does from fresh, and you don't have to time it. When they float, they're done. You could just fish each individual one out as they float. It's really neat. We're going to dump this water, but I am going to end up using that same pot to cook the finished gnocchi in a bit. So we should probably rinse it out right away as well. Since it's quite starchy. Okay, 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 okay. And that can just set aside and wait for us while we work on the taters. Let's see. I had the angles all wrong. Big bowl of taters. And a masher. There's my masher. And a masher. And then we just make mashed potatoes. This is the fun part. If you have a potato ricer, I would put this through your potato ricer. It will give you a more fine and consistent and faster result. I don't have one of those. An ordinary run-of-the-mill potato masher is fine. Just make sure to dig out any of the big chunks. Big chunks are not so nice for the finished gnocchi. And we can't throw an egg in this right away anyways, because that'll just scramble the egg. This is boiling hot. And so you got time to be thorough and make sure it's all mashed up. There's very little risk of over mashing for gnocchi, since we're making it into a dough, turning it into a paste anyways. Like, if you were actually making mashed potatoes, you got to stop at some point, or your mashed potatoes will become gluey. We want, to some degree, a little bit of that gluiness, so don't worry about over mashing. Worry more about getting rid of lumps. I don't feel any more lumps as I put this in, so... Also, it's cooked perfectly. The potatoes are done to perfection. That's another thing. Timing for potatoes never seems to work, but just eyeballing it, just like literally testing little bits of it, is super consistent. Okay, mashed potato. I'm making real quick progress today. I'm gonna have to maybe think of a second thing if this doesn't take long enough. Oop. My half cup measure was just cleaned and is a little bit damp, which is no good if I'm putting flour in it. I'm measuring flour by volume as well, which is heresy, since I'm actually making a dough as well. But much like our pizza dough of last week, this is more of a get the feel right than a hard must have this exact quantity. And part of that comes from the fact that potatoes are inconsistently sized and eggs are inconsistently sized. But I'm starting with a baseline of start with one sort of rough, loose cup. And I should get a spoon rather than diving my gross, freshly washed hands in there. Let's see, and I do have a reference recipe up. Yeah, no additional water, no additional liquid added, just the liquid that comes in one egg. It's all you need. And of course the moisture in the potatoes both natural and added from boiling. Okay. Okay. Probably going to need more flour than this ultimately, but I rather undershoot and add more than overshoot and be unable to remove it. Let's get that egg in there. One egg. Ah, ah, ah. Like I said, the egg adds moisture. The egg is also obviously egg. It's bringing some fat and quite a lot of protein, which will help us bind these together. So when they cook, they form nice little squidgy, delicious nuggets of deliciousness. Everyone wants a nugget of deliciousness. I want to get this to the point where I can knead it by hand, or get to the point where it will stop sticking to my hands before I dive in and attempt to knead it by hand. Because of recent struggles with doughs that just were glued onto my hands. Doesn't feel very sticky, so it definitely does need more flour though. So let's give it another scoop. Yes, dough. That's what I said with that inflection. Dough. If you have a nice worktop, I suggest doing this part once you've got it combined into a approximate dough, turning it out onto your worktop to combine the remaining flour into the correct consistency. I'm also going to do that. Actually, we'll move the cutting board since we don't now need it. Get this guy right there. This dough, and I'm sure it's because of the potato, has a very fluffy, pillowy texture. It is still sticking to me. It's not supposed to stick to your hand. If it sticks to your hand, it needs more flour because it's still too wet. Should have added the third scoop. Okay. If it sticks to your hand, it's too wet and it needs more flour. If it, and if in theory, like with most doughs, it should just stop picking up flour at some point. I think we may have had extra potato as well. Those potatoes were quite large. off of that worktop dough. Another problem, we're having it stick to the work surface improperly, which is very annoying. Okay. But yeah, I was saying this dough has a very fluffy, pillowy texture compared to a bread dough or a pizza dough. And I'm sure that's or even a different pasta dough. And I'm sure that's the potato that's in there. See, we got a few little lumps that escaped me. That's not the end of the world, but they will be noticeable. Not like ruining, but they will be noticeable in the finished gnocchi. Just keep adding dustings of flour to this until it stops sticking to my hand. Stop sticking to my hand, please. We also need to knead it, as we're doing now, to develop the gluten in our dough, because in addition to the protein from the egg, the protein from the wheat, it's coming along. It's still, no, yeah, I think we've got it to the point where it's just tacky. I can scrape some of these stuck bits off my hand. Still just slightly too sticky. I think it's going to stick when I try to roll it, is the problem. So, oh, and it's sticking to the table again. Stop sticking to the countertop. I was saying protein. Wheat has protein, the famous wheat gluten, which is what gives breads and stuff their structure. We need that to be pretty well developed in here and in all pastas. It's still tacky. It's still tacky, and it keeps picking up all the flour from my work surface, and then goes tacky again. My other option today, when I was considering what to make, was Satan, which is not a pasta, but it is a dough. You have to do exactly this with it, knead it, except in that case, you can't use flour for dusting. You can only use the high gluten stuff. It is nice looking dough, and it's getting along. It's a very wet dough, despite having only one egg in it because of all the moisture that was in the potatoes. I've lost track of how much flour I've added at this point. I'm just trying to get it to the point where it doesn't stick to my hand. Ideally, it would pick this stuff up, but I think that may have become dried on. I also have no doubt that I have a terrible kneading technique and something is wrong, and someone will tell me about it. I do want to revisit making Satan at some point. I did that very, very early on. Okay, it's tacky. It's trying to grab my hand. I think if I let my hand sit on it, it would succeed. But it's not sticking. I can't. Oh, but then it sticks to the counter. Ugh. This is becoming annoying. It's going to have stuck over there a little bit. Okay, well, yeah, I do want to revisit it. I think I did it slightly wrong the first time, anyways, because I boiled it without wrapping the pieces, and they became kind of spongy. And I think if I either steamed them or wrapped them in fine plastic or in a plastic cling wrap and then boiled them so they didn't directly come into contact with a bunch of water, they would come out better. I also didn't do any sort of flavoring elements the first time. I was very, very. I'm going to stop kneading this and just dust the outside so that it doesn't stick. Scrape that up. And also get it off my hands. So yeah, I have thought about that seitan since the first time I made it, and I do want to give it another go. The issue with seitan is, of course, that it is itself just an ingredient. It's not the thing. So I have to come up with a fun dish to make with the seitan, in addition to making the seitan. Oh, excuse me. But I need to scrape that up because we're going to roll this here, and it's going to get stuck. And that's how much stuff was stuck on there. I know you guys could hardly see it, but it's white on white. But that's why I kept adding more to it, because it kept clinging. Okay. Oh, we need that cutter anyways. For my own sanity, doing this on here. I also learned from last time I made gnocchi, don't stack them up. They should all sit individually on something. So we're getting out a large sheet and dusting it with flour. Once they're frozen, they can all stack up fine. The fresh ones will try to stick to each other more than a little bit. This is going to end up being slightly off the side of the frame here because I don't have a good place to put it. Let's cut that in half, cut that in half. Set these guys aside. And start making break that in half again. I should get the flour on hand because I should flour my hand. Not everything, but this time I just need to flour my hand. Okay. Okay. And then this is just like Play-Doh. You roll it out into a snake. You don't squish the. You know what? You know what? No. The board is a problem. I should look at my sauce. It's probably bone dry in all this time. Actually, it's drying. Ooh. Ooh, it's very thick. Huh. Okay. Okay. I'm going to turn that on super low so that it does not get away from me while I'm doing other things. So you want this snake of dough to be around the same thickness all the way along. So I got a thin spot. I'll just squinch that, and I got a thin spot. I'll just stretch that like so. I'm going to get out my fork. I don't, I've looked at the technique for this, but I don't know it well. So this is what I did last time, was just cut them into these little pillows and call them done. But you're supposed to, if you do it right, you're supposed to take a fork and roll them into the fork somehow. How do you do that? Oh, so you take a fork, you take a gnocchi, and you go, oh, I think my dough might be a little bit too soft. Hmm. I'm not sold on this technique. That one, uh, this way? I'm not sure what the method here is. Let's try turning one into just a sphere and then attempting to roll it. No, I'm just sticking to the. God, I don't know. I'm just gonna have them be little pillows. Except for those couple of weird ones that I rolled. I don't know that the rolling technique is very straightforward or easy. Okay. Or it probably takes quite a lot of practice. But yeah, this one's a bit smaller, so I'm gonna make a shorter snake to try to get the same girth. And then go chop just along the length. And then our little pillows go down onto our floured pan. Okay. Yeah. And that, basically, is what I'm going to do for all of this dough. Actually, you know what I could do to accelerate the process a little bit? Do one of those guys. Aha. Clever. And as long as I get to them pretty quickly, they don't have time to stick together. Oh, okay, they do have time to stick together. Stick together almost instantly. What we're going to do, we're going to cut all these little pillows into their individual gnocchis. And then the fourth section is going to be the one that I cooked today. And the other ones are all going to go into my freezer. That one stuck to the table even. Still a little bit of a tacky dough, and it's a little bit tricky to work with without making these pillows not so pretty. So we're going to eat this one today, and this one is now going to be rolled. I don't want to roll them around too much because I want to preserve that pillowy shape. I just need to make sure that I flour the work surface in between these rolls and my hands. I'm not worried about there being excess flour on them. I'm just worried about agitating them too much once I've got the shapes. Because excess flour, that one got a lot of excess flour. Excess flour will ultimately cook off into the water as surface starch when you boil them. Unincorporated flour, I should say. Okay. You guys get a little bit farther apart so you don't literally stick to each other when I do this. It's a tiny one. And I'll show you the board of gnocchis over here before I chuck it in the freezer. Trying to get them laid out so they don't touch each other. Again, once they're frozen, no problem. They can just go in a plastic bag. I dropped one on the floor. I have dropped one directly onto the floor. Wonderful. Just perfect. We've got plenty of room in the freezer. I guess that one's a loss. We got plenty of room in the freezer because of all that finagling I did on Saturday to make room for ice cream. So here they are. Here they be. And you can see there's a couple of those weird ones in there. We floured the pan. And I am just going to... I'm not going to pick it up and blow it off because it fell on the floor in between my trash and the edge of my counter. And that part of the floor is especially gross. So certain parts of the floor are okay for the 5-second rule. Other parts of the floor are definite no-goes. And the floor immediately around the trash can is one of those no-go territories. So we did have a loss of one. It was one of the little end nub pieces, which I think are the least good of the pieces anyways. Flour my hands. Forget to flour your hands. Don't forget to flour your hands. For those of you following along at home, and I know you are. I'm glad you've discovered the D face. Even though it is one of the standard Twitch emote. It's not even a Twitch emote. It's a standard emoticon. I love it so much. I love ones I've seen on other people's channels so much that I had to make my own. Okay, I'm pulling these slightly away from each other as I cut them to ensure that they don't stick. Because the cut surface is that tacky dough that I was struggling with before. Since these are not being transferred directly onto a floured sheet, they're remaining here on my floured worktop. They need to be in good standing so they can wait here while I go back over to the stove and get ready for them. All in all, we had very few potato lumps, so that's good. Gnocchis. Let's get my hands actually washed. Okay. And then we're gonna swap over my sauce to the back burner. The sauce is here. Actually, before I do that, before I swap the sauce, get over to the stove. take a look at the sauce. Look at this sauce. It's much, much thicker. I can just, I mean, if I do it down, I can actually push it out of the way and see the bottom. If I do it up, it holds just a second. Let's give it a taste. It's very thick now. Oh, wow. Okay. I added maybe a touch too much salt. I can fix that. It's a little bit salty. Now, it's also a sauce that's going on something, so it should be quite punchy, flavorful. But I maybe added a pinch too much salt. Get this water up to a boil. Gonna put my flour away. Back in the corner behind the spice rack and the rice. Need a better solution. Every time I use the flour, every single time I use the flour, whether I'm on camera or off, I complain about how bad a place that is to keep the flour. And then I put it right back. In light of the fact that the sauce is a bit salty, I'm not going to salt our water at all. This water. Actually, hold on. Idea. Shit. Splash water all over the place. Burner off. Back burner on. I have an idea. I'm having an idea. I'm going to make. Let's see. I'm gonna see what I've got to work with now because I didn't plan for anything extra. Just all of the sudden, like I should do idea. What do we have to idea with though? Ooh. I've got an onion. I've got an onion. I was hoping for a green pepper, but I guess I didn't have any of those left over. What's in this bag? Let's find out together. Hopefully it's not gone off on me. Oh, ooh. Not for this. It's tricolored green beans from the farmer's market. I forgot we're there, and I really need to not forget are there. I want to do beans? What do you think? Green beans with our gnocchi? The plan here is I'm going to fry the gnocchi in a little bit of oil after I boil them before I add the sauce to get a little bit of surface browning. And that's an opportunity to also do a vegetable in the fry on the pan. And my options are onion and beans, green beans. I have a system for this. Poll. poll started. I should show off what the green beans look like. They're tricolor, so they are a mix of. Oop, we'll still have the stem on them. It's a mixed bag of these three: purple, white, and green. And the purple ones are weirdly green on the inside, and the purple goes away real fast when you cook them. I know that from having cooked some of these. We got a no green beans. Okay. Guess I'll save the green beans for a later time and a later place. That pan's going to need to heat up a little bit. Oop. Get us back over to the stove. Cutting board. I've already got a knife out. I've got the potato knife out. We can use that to cut a tablespoon of butter. Boy, I tell you what, the price of butter, if you haven't been paying attention, the price of butter has gone insane. I'm not sure what, because other dairy products have gone up quite a lot, but butter has gone up faster, and I don't know what's causing that. And it's only like the big national brands. Land O'Lakes butter is like $8 a pound now. It's very expensive butter. The local store brand is still only $4 a pound, but it's totally sold out because people noticed that it wasn't $8 a pound and stocked up, I guess. Our water is at a boil. Our little gnocchi pillows are just going to go in there. We're going to throw them in a few at a time. And they are done when they float. We're going to turn the heat down a little bit. The fact that they are done, they float when they're cooked through, makes it super handy for identifying them. You can throw in lots of them, and only the done ones will float to the top, and you can fish them out. Hopefully they aren't sticking together in a big mass in there. I don't think they are. But it makes cooking gnocchi very easy. Ow! I boiled my finger. Why didn't any of you warn me that boiling water was hot? That hurt. I feel betrayed by chat. Also, hopefully I've done these correctly, and they will, in fact, float when they are done. Our butter is ready to receive them. Okay. Don't be sticking together. Come back up to a rolling boil. Oh, so okay, yes, perfect. They are coming to the top. and you just fish out the ones that are coming to the top. Oops. And you drop them. Perfect. Perfect. Our boil is boiling a little bit too hard. They have retained their nice little pillow shapes. Water. I can't see the floating gnocchis anymore. We've retained our nice little pillow shapes. Happy with that. All of our little gnocchis are floating perfectly. And that's all of them. And this is just them and some butter, which will help the surface have a little bit more texture and not just be a little squidge all the way, because there are definitely little squidges in the middle. I'm going to say that I'm not putting the onion in. Ow, I really did boil my finger, though. I really did accidentally boil my finger for a second there. So let's not do that. For those of you following along at home, refrain from sticking your finger into the boiling water with the gnocchi. It is not advisable. You can tell the water is hot by the fact that it is turning into a gas and emerging from the top of itself in bubbles. Okay. You know what I can add? You know what will be a fun add to this? I've still got a little bit of, well, I say a little bit. I've still got quite a large chunk of mozzarella. The water is still bubbling. The heat on that burner is off. It's just coming down. The curse of the electric burner is that even though the heat is off, the burner itself has a lot of thermal mass that it has to keep venting, and the pot is there to accept it. Break it up, you guys. Break it up. I said break it up. There you go. This is probably not quite hot enough because clearly I'm touching it without hurting myself. But since we've got extra mozzarella, some mozzarella chunks torn into it while it's hot could be very, very fun. That potato starch off of that spoon before I do this with it. So we're going to take our chickeny sauce and add it to the gnocchis right here in the pan. There's already butter in the pan, so we don't need to mount the sauce with butter. I'm going to bring the heat up on this because that sauce was a little bit cool. not supposed to be there. Let's dump this guy out. We don't need that anymore. I'm not planning on using the starchy water for anything. Let's get a plate ready too. Oh, there's going to be some cleanup today. Wow. Good thing I don't take pictures over here. Honestly, making the dough was a little bit trickier, I think, than it was last time. And I'm wondering if that's the difference between the sweet potato and the regular potato. Because last time I made it, it was with sweet potato and regular potato. It was a mix because the recipes all told me you can't do 100% sweet potato; it won't form a thing. So we had a blend. But I wonder if that was a factor. Okay, I'm going to call that done. The sauce is thick, bubbling, clearly very hot. Get us over to the countertop. I've used a very large plate for it. We're going to just tear up some mozzarella and plunk it on the top. The heat should melt it, right? Aha, I don't need parsley. I saved a sprig of fresh basil. And, oh, where did you go? Where did you go? Cheese. Cheese. Not a ton. I don't want to drown this thing in Parmesan, but a little freshly grated Parmesan, which actually should have gone on before the basil. Yeah, it's got that look of like a fancy restaurant plate, where the plate is a, a lot bigger than it needs to be for what's on it. Yeah, I don't think I want to add anything else to that. I do have an extra piece of Parmesan, or not Parmesan, mozzarella, so I'll just have to snack on that one. Put the big chunk of it away. Yeah, that's the thing. Our cheese is melting, so that's good. I want to take a picture of this before it goes completely. What do I call the sauce? That's going to be the question, because I got to do a little write-up. Okay, a bunch of pictures. Let's give this thing a taste, and then I can try to describe what the sauce is called. Using my fork, not my fingers. So, mm, okay. The sauce actually balances out well with the gnocchi because it is a little bit too salty just eating it by itself. But with the gnocchi, that's good because the gnocchi themselves are not salted at all. So having the extra salt in the sauce is good. The sauce, it reminds me the most of a meat sauce, like a smoky, rich. It's got this rich unctuousness to it. There's no actual meat in it, but there is quite a lot of chicken drippings. So it's definitely not vegetarian. But there's no like bits of meat. The flavor, the meaty flavor, is just shot through the whole thing. Um, it's not terribly spicy. There's a faintest hint. Um, I think it could probably stand a shake of some red pepper flakes or something, just a little pop. As it is, it's quite a mild thing, which is fine. Sometimes you want a mild thing. Uh, I like it. Mm. The bites with the melty mozzarella in them are very nice because the mozzarella is a different texture. It's actually the mozzarella is slightly firmer than the gnocchi, which is interesting. Um, Makes me want to take the rest of this guy and tear him up so that I've got more of those nice bites throughout the thing. So we'll do that. Yeah. I don't really have a name for it. The sauce is such a strange. It's very tasty, but it would be difficult to make it deliberately. It's a sauce constructed from the byproduct of a different recipe. Um, it is very tasty. I would say that if at any point you have excess chicken drippings, or any sort of meat drippings, I suppose if you're making your own stock, you could do a stock concentrate and make this out of that. That's probably the closest thing. Is it's a chicken stock based thing, but I like it. I like it. I'm having a hard time explaining it clearly, but I do like it. What are you doing here, fruit fly? Um, oh, and it took us just about an appropriate amount of time too. So let's get back to the main angle. Here we are, home again, home again. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming out. Always glad to see all of y'all. Always glad to have someone to chit chat with while I'm doing this. It sorry, sorry, I'm getting distracted during my own outro. Uh, on, I'm not gonna. I'm not. What I'm not gonna do is accidentally hit raid now midway through a sentence and cut everything off abruptly, which is what I did on Saturday. Um, let's see who's on that I can send y'all over to see. Okay, I know where we're going. We are going to go visit Zelt Dangerous, who's playing Diablo 2. Um, She's good people. Everyone say hi. She's always asks me about things I'm cooking, so we can tell her immediately, right away, immediately live, assuming we can figure out a description for what this thing is. If you've got my emotes, let's make a little thing here. There. If you've got my emotes, give that a copy, and when you arrive in Zelda's channel, give it a paste. If you don't have my emotes, what's wrong with you? But thanks for coming out. This is always a lot of fun, and I always get something delicious to eat for when I'm done.